My name is Robert Gilstrap, and today I'm going to talk to you about the property tax appeal process in Georgia. And to me, this is a really important topic because if you'll think about it, property taxes account for, or normally your number one expense after your mortgage. And a lot of people just don't ever give it a second thought. They just pay them and go on down the road. And to me, it's such a significant expense, it pays to know how you can fight those taxes and see if you can drive down that expense every year. It can really affect your bottom line a lot. In Georgia, everybody has to file, and this is a pretty little known fact, everybody is required to file a property tax return from January 1st through April 1st, April 1st being the deadline, and that form is a PT50R. And I'm sure most people out there would say, gosh, I've never even heard of such a form, never heard that you had to file a tax return on my real property. And the reason is the way the law is written. It basically says you've got to file the return every year, but if you don't, you're accepting our value, the value that the government gives the property. Now that may be fine and good if the value is correct, but if the value is off, it's going to cause you to spend a whole lot more money in property taxes each year. And I think everyone would admit and understand that many times what the county assesses value at is nowhere near what the values are, especially given today's economic climate and the downturn that we've had over the last several years in real property values. So anyway, the way that the assessors assess value to your property is one of three different ways. It's uniformity, the sales, like a cost comparison approach with properties around you, and then on a rental property, it would be an income approach. Now, for the most part, people don't, in the appeals process, they don't use the income approach that much. I would say that using uniformity or the sales cost comparison type thing is what I would do. And uniformity simply means that my property is assessed evenly or under the same uniform guidelines as those properties around me. And you'd be surprised that many of them aren't. But the big one is going to be the sales approach. And in Georgia now, the legislature this last year, actually 2 years ago, passed a change in the law that basically said that now foreclosed properties have to be given equal weight and are considered arm's length transactions in that sales model, that comparison model. So very important there. Filing this PT50R, why it's so important, it gives you an extra bite at the apple is the way I like to call it. So right now, if you file your PT50 between January 1st and April 1st of each year, that's going to trigger the tax assessor's office looking at your property and assessing it for value, which normally they would not do, right? They're just going to, if you don't file, they would accept the value that was on the system. So now you've actually forced their hand to look at it, put a set of eyes on it, and place a real value on it. That's important. The second thing is they're actually going to contact you and say, hey, we either agree or disagree with the value that you return on your form. Many times, though, they agree with the value, or more likely, they'll knock it down just a little bit. So let's say it was $100,000. They say, okay, great, you returned it at $50,000. We'll knock it down to $80,000. Well, gosh, you just got a bunch taken off just for asking. So now you've got another bite at the apple. And that bite is through filing an appeal. And if you file an appeal, it will go to appeal of the value. It will go to the County Board of Equalization. And that's your third bite at the apple. Because when you file an appeal, being your second bite at the apple, the tax assessor's office will usually go back and re-examine it again because they don't want to go to the Board of Equalization either because it's a lot of work. And they're going to have to show up and they're going to have to put on a case almost like an attorney does in court. And it's a lot of work for them. So you're going to get a second bite there. And then if it goes to the Board of Equalization, the board is actually going to make a determination of value, not the tax assessor. So anyway, this is the process kind of in a nutshell. It can be much more complex than this. A lot of caveats, rules, and regulations that go with it. But it's really a simple process, and it is absolutely worth pursuing on your properties, and I do it on mine every single year. Anyway, if you've got any other questions, feel free to call us, and I'll be happy to help you. Thanks.